Welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's get into it. I am Kenyatta the healer. I am Kenyatta the architect. On this channel, we destroy and build simultaneously, for there can be no resurrection without destruction. Once again, I'm Kenyatta, but you will refer to me as Miss Kenyatta, Queen, Goddess, Empress, Ma'am, High Priestess, or whatever I tell you to refer to me as. I have no enemies. The enemies of God have been defeated, but if God is created both the good and the evil, the light and the dark, God has no enemies. Ye are gods. As well, loving goodwill, taken care of within, eliminates that without. I will not tolerate anyone stalking me, harassing me, bullying me, or being common with me, or anyone who genuinely supports me on my platform. Affirmations and repeat. I am wonderful. I am marvelous. I am magnificent. I am splendid. I am perfect. I am thankful. I am grateful. I am loved. I am loved. I am loving. I am lovable. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am wise. I am the master and creator of my own fate. I am the master and creator of my own destiny. I am my fate. I am my destiny. I am the all that is, all that ever was and ever shall be. I love myself. So right now, I'm not going to do a zodiac reading, but I'm going to do a reading. I'm kind of curious about something. The city that I live in Cleveland, Ohio. Well, I live in one of the suburbs of Cleveland, but you know Cleveland. I was not born here, but I was shipped here. I believe when I was an infant, okay, made to believe that I was from here. And in a sense, whether born here, even if though I wasn't born here, I do feel like I am, in a sense, still from here because I've been here. I was raised here, I'll put it like that. But I'm even hearing it's not my home, but that's okay. In a way it is. My birth mother, her family is from here. My birth father is from here. So I am curious about something about this city. I remember when I was a kid growing up, they used to call Cleveland the Plum. They would call New York City the Big Apple. They used to have this saying, New York is the Big Apple, but Cleveland is the Plum. I don't know why they said that. They'll also say Ohio, the heart of it all. So when I was I did my chaplain residency, which was a year-long program at Cleveland Clinic. And Cleveland Clinic is one of, I don't know where it rates now. It used to be, when I was still working there, it was the #2 hospital, worldwide. I don't know if it ranks at #2 or #1, but they damn sure, have grown. And the lady who raised me was a nurse there ever since I can remember. So she saw she saw the growth. I saw some of it. Okay, of course not from her vantage point, but I did. Even when I was a resident, which was, my daughter's 19, so it was 18 years ago. Some of the buildings that a person may see today, for those people that are watching that are from here, or you live here, or whatever, been here, they were building it then, like the front of the building where the big fountain is on Euclid. Euclid was nothing like that. I remember the old cafeteria. Lady who raised me used to take us there sometime to get, breakfast. So I remember all of that stuff, okay? But anyway, and of course, Cleveland Clinic is spread across there in, is it Abu Dhabi, Florida? Just everywhere. Somebody told me recently another area they're going to. But anyway, I was even fortunate enough when I did do my residency there to meet with the CEO at the time. His name was Toby Cosgrove. And I had, the theme for the clinic that year was empathy. I don't remember, the whole saying or whatever, but it was empathy. And there was this thing about, doctors not really talking much with, maybe people that are not doctors, could be considered peons or whatever. But as a chaplain, I often had to, it's hot, I can't stand this goddamn heat. I'm sorry, I just can't. You know, 70 degrees, 75 is so perfect for me. Okay. But that is the extreme, the heat, oh my God, I can't stand it. And the extreme cold, it's like, I hate that shit. Okay. But anyway, let me get back to this, okay? But anyway, so as a chaplain, doing my residency, I did my internship in Atlanta, residency here at Cleveland Clinic. I saw a lot of death. Okay, a lot of death. Okay, and as a chaplain, I was not able to. Well, as a chaplain and resident, I don't think the chaplains are allowed to do it. There. Okay, even if they're a chaplain, not a resident. But we were not allowed to say anything to a family like your mother died, your father. We couldn't tell them, but we had to be present. If it was on your floor, we had to be present when the doctor pronounced death, to a family member. We had to be present, or to a family, friends, whoever it was, we had to be present. And sometimes, now when I did it in Atlanta, the doctors were usually a little more heartfelt. But when I was in Cleveland Clinic, sometimes they would seem kind of cold. It could come off kind of cold. It was just, this is it, moving on, And, but I understood at the same time. So one time, this is kind of a side note, but I had the opportunity one time of, they were taking a patient off life support. He was in his room. They were taking him off life support, and the director chose me to go in to the room with the family as they were taking it off to read scripture as the man was transitioning from, physical life of the life support on to death. It was really an awesome, very kind of humbling experience. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. But so one time there was a doctor. He was fairly young. He had to let a family know that their loved one died, and I was there with him. There was no conversation between us and the doctors. You know what I'm saying? They knew who we were. Sometimes we were acknowledged, sometimes not. Whatever. They knew who we were while we were there. But this particular doctor, he was so empathetic. He was so caring. And I wasn't seeing that with the doctors. I was seeing him tell them, hey, your family member's dead, moving on. I'm not saying they said moving on, of course, but the kind of coldness. But this guy was total opposite. And I was like, wow, he really embodied the theme for the hospital that year. So when, family, when me and him were alone, I looked at him and I introduced myself and I asked him his name. I don't remember his name. And I told him, I said, that was really, empathetic, the way you spoke with the family, and, you really embodied the theme of empathy for the year, And he kind of looked at me like I had two heads, like, huh? You know what I'm saying? And I asked him his name, whatever, he told me his name, and, so it's like, okay, that was into that. So we were told in my program, in my residency program, to share these stories, because it was like 7 of us. I think it was about 7 of us. I want to sit here and count to myself. Let me see. Me, Corliss, her, Kim, Algin, and Hensley. 7. There were 7 of us. So we often had to do group work. It wasn't just always being on the floor with patients. It was a lot of group work. And so we were told to bring these stories, and our experiences to some of the group work. But what I did, I don't know, would be told to do this or if I just took it upon myself to do it. I can't remember. But I sent an email to the CEO at the time, Toby Cosgrove. And I told him what happened, and I told him the doctor's name and how great he handled it and blah, 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 because often I would see the opposite, you know what I'm saying? I ain't tell him all that. Whatever. It's been a long day. Okay. And as a result, he sent for me to come meet with him. So that was just a great experience. You know what I'm saying? I told my supervisor, which afterwards I was like, man, I wish I wouldn't have told him, because he came, and it's like, it kind of spoils some stuff, because the CEO secretary sat there and said, because I told him, I said, I feel that with what the doctors deal with, because anybody could call for a chaplain, not just the patients, you know, or families, staff. So sometimes staff would call for a chaplain for themselves. But no one, I don't think, in the program, from what I can remember, that year had ever had a doctor reach out to a chaplain. And I expressed in the email, and when I went to see him, that it would be great if doctors had their own chaplains separate, you know, from the chaplains for the, you know, hospital population, because I felt like because of their status, the work that they had to do, etc., they may not reach out to the chaplains on staff or the chaplain residents. And I said, with what they have to go through, their work, I really think that they could use, you know, chaplains of their own, you know. I will talk about, I'll do a story time maybe one day on my experiences as a chaplain, resident and intern. But anyway, so the lady raised me, I told her what happened. I said, the doctors looked at me crazy, like I had two heads. And she said, because what you did, most people wouldn't do that. And I was like, well, why not? You know, they said empathy and to talk about it with the staff and blah, blah, this, that, and other. And she said, well, most people are not going to talk to the doctors, especially at a hospital like Cleveland Clinic. But, you know, people are people to me. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have those kinds of fears, you know, or those kinds of, they're the great doctor and I'm just the no. You know, I'm human being, so are you. And that's why Toby Hospital called me personally. I mean, he personally sent me an email. He didn't have anybody send me the email. He personally sent me an email to come, you know, meet with him. They wanted to, his secretary wanted to create a position for me based off of the action that I took. But I brought in my supervisor, and I don't think that might have, probably wasn't the best thing. But that's a whole nother story. But anyway, during the program, at the beginning of the program, we had to write a paper. I don't remember what the exact topic was, but what I talked about was Cleveland, Ohio. And I said, you know, they call Ohio the heart of it all, you know. And I said, when you look at the shape, it is almost shaped like a heart. You know, well, like, you know, that heart, not the actual human heart. And I said, and look at its location, where it's located on the map. It's kind of like, it's, you know, they call it the Midwest, but it's really like geographically northeast. And I said, that's where the heart is on the human body, you know. And they call Ohio the heart of it all. And I said, but also Cleveland itself is northeast in the state. So it's like, I haven't looked at the shape of Cleveland, you know, but I said it's the same thing. It's like the heart of the state, and the state the heart of the country, you know. And he thought it was so profound. I was like, well, just look at the map. Look at where it's placed and look at the shape of it. That's what it looked like. And that's what they call it. Well, anyway, I find Cleveland to be an interesting place. It was a place that when I was, well, I had traveled since I was small, very small. I did travel. There are people in our life, babysitters, who, and when I say I'm referring to me and my sibling. We did a lot of travel. You know, Milwaukee, Florida, California. They took us to just all over. We was just always going. And then I was able to do some Mexico. We went to Mexico, we went to California, Hawaii, Then as I got older, I did some traveling. Israel, Egypt, I can't think of every place. Of course, Canada, we're right there. So we all, that was often a church trip. If I remember correctly, you know what I'm saying, down south, of course. Okay. So I never, when I left, I went to DC for college and loved DC. I absolutely loved it there. Even still, with all the gentrification, it's not. At least the last time I went there, okay, because they used to call it Chocolate City. Okay, so it may not quite be Chocolate City anymore. I still love it there. I hope you can hear me. I hope my TV isn't too loud. Let me see. Okay. So anyway, so after then having people in my life who were our babysitters, they were sisters who were very open in terms of travel and just how their view of life. Very progressive for me at the time. I was able to be in more progressive environments, even within the city. And then going to DC, I was always an advocate of young people who, if they wanted to go to college, to go outside of their city, hell, even outside of their state. Because you learn so much about yourself because you are pushed into different worlds, different experiences around different people. I remember a friend of mine back then, I did my first year college in community college here, and a friend of mine back then, when I was, that summer we was hanging out every day before I went to Howard, and he was just like, "You're going to change," and I was like, "No, I'm not going to change. I am who I am." And he was like, "Well," and people had this thing against black schools. I don't want to take up too much time, but anyway, and I was like, "Well, it's a black school, That's all I knew. I knew its reputation as well. That's why I wanted to go there. And I always liked that number one type thing, and Howard had that reputation. And I had this thinking that black people was the same everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And when I went there, I was like, "Oh, I see what he was saying." That he was like, "That's not true." Well, he had been to college. He had done his first year. We graduated the same year, but he had done his first year away. But when you're thrown into different worlds and different people, different experiences, it opens you up so much more to yourself, as opposed if you're just always in the same environment. Anyway, so I really didn't care for it here. I just felt, I was like, it's so drab, it's so boring. Ain't no soul here, ain't no spirit, ain't no life. It's just, especially after being in places like Atlanta back then, and of course, like I said, DC and various places, So anyway, in New York, living these places, meeting people from so many different places. Like it's so funny, when I was in college, most of my friends they weren't from Cleveland. My friend, Houston, Trenton, New Jersey, South Carolina. I can't remember what city Erica was from. South Carolina, just everywhere, New Orleans. One of my friends back then was from New Orleans, New Orleans. And but nevertheless, I found myself back here. Okay, it's a long story about how I'm not talking about my recent coming back from New York when I went there for a couple months. Like, hell no, I'm not living like this. I'm gonna go back. But I had never wanted to come back, but I did a couple times. And I remember one year I came back Oh, I lived in Memphis for a while, and I came back, and I just said, well, I'm just going to kind of ground myself here because I had been moving so many different places, and I wanted to ground myself. So I came back here, and I remember, but see, I was always the type that I'm gonna make the best of wherever I am. You're gonna be you no matter where you go. Make the best of the shit. It's really now my outlook on the city is not 1,000% different, but it's a lot different than it was back then. But anyway, it's much more positive outlook than I had on it back then. Especially, life experience, and you look back on things and you try various things and whatnot. But, that'll be a story time for another day. But anyway, I remember one year here, when I was here, since I've been back here. Hell, I came back here to be here for a year, and I was done. Okay, but like I said, that's another story about why I ended up staying. Okay, but they had this thing where they were saying that Cleveland was the poorest city in, was it the world? Or it must have been the nation. Poorest city. It was on that, made national news. And I was like, that's so interesting. And when I was here, my early years, it was like, before I had my dogs, I can't be here. I got to get the hell out of here. I want to be here. And I kept hearing, every time I thought that, no, just wait. Just wait. I kept hearing that over and over again. Just wait. Okay. Just wait. And so it became a thing where I'm going to ground myself, make a home, make a life, this, that, and other. Because, see, I didn't mind going from place to place. You know what I'm saying? It's just me. And sometimes I look and I'm like, hell, I should have never left New York when I was a kid. Or I should have never left this place. Or I should have went back to D.C. Or I should have done all of that type of thing, right? But at the same time, especially with some of the things I've gone through the last 4 years, a little bit over 4, but definitely 4 years. And hell, probably all my life, really, when you really think about it. But I look and I'm like, if we always have this thought that if I hadn't stayed, I wouldn't have come to the knowledge of some of the things that I've come to the knowledge of. About myself, about my life. But then there's another part of my mind that says, well, you might have still found out. You know what I'm saying? But maybe not. I don't know. But I do know that I kept hearing every time I said, I got to get the hell up out of here. I kept hearing, not yet. Don't go. Just wait. For years. And I chose to be obedient to that. Though there may have been times I felt like, sometimes, you can feel like you're in a trap. So for me, when I packed up year before last and moved to New York, it was showing me you're not trapped. Okay. The lady definitely who raised me would tell you, I was always a giver. I would just give a lot of my show. Because if I'm not using it, there are people out there who can use it. What do I need to hold on to it for? I've been that way all my life. But also with me giving up. And when I moved to New York, I probably gave away about 70% of my stuff. Gave away. Because I was instructed, do not sell it. Give it. That's some nice shit. Okay. That's some real nice shit. I didn't really realize how nice the shit was until I was packing up. You know what I'm saying? And I was instructed, do not sell it. Give it. So I did. And then it got to a point where I heard, now you can sell it. You can sell the rest. And I did. I got the go ahead. Go to New York. It's time for you to leave. When I got there, things happened a certain kind of way, and he was like, go back. And I was like, well, what? Why'd you tell me to go? You know? And part of it was like, I feel as though this is not where this was supposed to go, but I'm going to get back to where I was supposed to go. I feel as though I always wanted to go back. I loved it there when I was younger. And I always wanted to go back. And I feel as though when a person, no matter how old you are, if there is something that you want to do, then you have to do it. You gotta muster the courage. Especially as you get older, you know, you get settled, and then you can kind of settle and decide, well, I don't know, I don't need to, you know, because I was talking to a lady the other day, she said, why you do that? Why you go there? Wow, you older lady. And I said, because I wanted to. I always wanted to go back. She said, I understand. She said, you didn't want to have no regrets. I said, absolutely not. I didn't want to be like in my 80s, whatever, 90s, and feel like, damn, I should have went. I don't want to feel like that, you know. And she said, yeah, I understand, you know. But anyway, when I came back, I was on the highway and I saw Chagrin, which is not far from where, not far from where I live. Let me change, because I got too many weirdos watching and stalking and acting a goddamn fool. But it's not far from where I live. When I saw it, I was like, oh, thank you, God. You know what I was saying? Oh, thank you, God. And I said to me, Cleveland ain't that bad. He's like, no, Cleveland ain't that bad. Okay. But anyway, you know, 20-some-year-old eyes, like I said, 50-some-year-old eyes is totally different. Of course, my 19-year-old eyes was like, oh, she didn't want to leave. Like, no, baby, we're not staying. And she can always go back if she wants to, you know. But anyway, I'll delve more into that another time. But there was a time here, like I said, I can't remember how old my daughter was, but she was small, very small. Well, they was saying Cleveland was the poorest city in the whole fucking United States. Goddamn. Now, this city is old. Cleveland is old. Of course, it's not as old as New York, but it's old city. There's old money here. You know, not new. There ain't no new city. It's old city. And this is, you know, where, for those who are familiar, of course, you know about John D. Rockefeller. This is where he made his money, in this city, you know. They got Rockefeller Gardens and, you know, some Rockefeller's buildings and stuff. But when I heard that, I said, it is. It's the poorest city in the whole fucking nation. And this was, like I said, this was some years back. Within the last 19 years, at least my daughter's 19, she was born. And I looked around, and I looked around. I said, for a city that's so poor, they sure are doing a lot of building around this number. Ever since I've been back here, these last 19 years, they're building every fucking way. Doing a lot of building. And your condos and shit. I'm like, you don't build condos for poor people. People ain't got shit. Well, I'll put it like this. Who don't have the money to pay for them? And then people always say, well, you know, Cleveland Clinic, because Cleveland Clinic is huge. And there are people who travel long distances to come to work every day at Cleveland Clinic. It's been like that for years. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not the only reason they're doing building. All that shit ain't just about Cleveland Clinic, is it? So I was driving area I used to live in. I want to live far from the area. St. Clair, no, it was Superior and Euclid, for those who are familiar, right outside of East Cleveland as you're headed toward downtown, you know, at the bottom of the hill. And I looked and I saw this brand new spanking, beautiful modern building, and my mouth dropped like, when did they do this shit? Because I lived in the area for about 11 years, not far from there, and there used to be a lot of businesses, of course a lot of black businesses. And then I remember in my last few years in the area, I was driving down that same block, and all those businesses were gone. all those businesses were gone. And I looked, I said, all of these businesses are gone, you know. I live more on the back and closer to St. Clair, so I wasn't often in that area, but it was not far from where I lived, so I would occasionally be down there, but I used to patronize some of the businesses over there, and they were just gone. Because all these businesses, like 1, 2 businesses, holding on. Like, what the fuck is going on? So I remember when I lived in the house, my grandparents' house, I had a dream one night that I went out on my porch and I looked over where I live. It's one of those areas where a lot of the grandparents, so on, you know, left their homes, houses, and whatnot to their families, and I was one of those people. So the person that lived next door to me, I knew that man all my life. Because that was my grandparents' house. Okay, so his mother left him the house. Girl on this side of me, her grandparents left the house, I think, to her father, and then left it to her, something like that. Okay, and there was more people on that block who lived a few houses out. It was the same shit, and pretty much that whole block. Okay, most of those houses. So this dream, I go out on my porch and I look over at my neighbor to this side, and it was a white woman. And I said to myself, well, I don't want to say her name on here. And I said, well, where is she? You know? And white woman and purple was relevant in this dream. There was a lot of purple. Okay, this was a long time ago, and I didn't look up the colors or what it meant or anything. There's a lot of purple in the dream, especially coming from them next door. And two ladies, they looked at me and smiled as if to say, you know what it is. Okay? That's the main part. Oh, and then the girl who did own the house, I remember her walking down the driveway and looking at me, and I said, you're gone? Or like you sold the house or something like that. She was like, yeah, you know. Now that's all I remember because it's been so long. And I woke up, I said, well, they probably, you know, doing gentrify the area and whatnot, because at that time, over on 105 and Wade Park, which is not far from that area, okay, that I'm talking about, where I used to live, they did kick out all them black people that was in all them houses. And we renovated those houses, and there were meetings from people who lived in the area trying to fight it because they knew what was coming, you know, gentrifying the area. They knew it was coming. The Veterans Hospital is there, the VA, which I think they renovated it, if I remember correctly. The museums are not far from there. Made it really nice. I just was over there the other day and I saw that they tore down, they got rid of all of the tennis courts over there. So okay, what are they doing? But it's not just in the city, inner city, it's like even the suburbs. I'm driving around and I'm seeing all of these motherfucking buildings, these condos. I'm like, well, you don't build condos and shit for the poorest city in the motherfucking nation. It's not logical. Now, I'm not saying that they're still calling it that. This was a while ago, you know. I don't know when they decided to stop saying that, okay? And I said, well, you know, we know what's happening in the major cities with gentrification. I don't know, it doesn't seem like it has taken as fast here as some other cities, okay? I mean, like we know Harlem, for people who are familiar with how Harlem used to be versus what it is now. Not the same. Okay. Okay. DC, like I said, and I'm sure some other major cities. So I'm just kind of curious. And that's what I'm doing this reading on. I just want to know. Let me see what I get. Now, I could go to the little council meetings and all that kind of stuff. I'm not one to go to that kind of stuff and believe everything that they're saying. Anyway, I remember one time, what's that place they have? House of Blues. Years ago, they had a meeting there, big old city meeting. Everybody could come. And I just remember listening, like, let me see what are they doing to this city? I mean, if they're doing it right in front of our faces, but what is it? I won't know what the fuck it is. Somebody knows. Somebody knows. Now, my father's sister, one of my aunts, she used to work at a law firm. I don't know if she was a legal secretary, just a secretary, whatever. But she knew about plans for a part of the city long before it took place, before it happened. Because she saw it there, she saw the work there. Okay. And she said, I knew that was going to happen. Well, how did you know? She said, because where I worked, at that law firm. Okay, the information was there, So anyway, I'm just curious, like, what are the plans? When I went to that meeting, there's a lot of people there. I was on the balcony or upstairs or whatever, and I was just listening. And a lot of the people that were there, they were just really pissed. The citizens, okay, were really pissed because they felt like the city wasn't really doing anything, to progress as a city. It was like, okay, so you're building, but who's the housing for? It's not for the people that already live here. If we the poorest folk, that was back then, but it's not then. It's obviously not for the people that are already here. One of my issues back when I was younger, one reason I didn't care for it after like going to in Chicago and New York, I was like, why is Cleveland like this? Why didn't they make this like a metropolis? Cleveland has a history of like way the population has decreased in this city significantly. Now we're talking about the city significantly from like the 80s, 70s, 80s. I did see the numbers one time. I think last year I was just looking at some stuff and I was like, wow, it's really gone down. And I was talking to somebody about that recently and they were saying it's still decreasing. And I can believe it because businesses, and we're talking about suburbs. One thing I found interesting is I had a friend my freshman year at Howard. She was from St. Louis. And I went to visit her, had a ball there. But anyway, I sent her a letter one summer and put St. Louis, but I put the zip code and it was sent back to me. The post office sent it back. And I called her and she said, oh, you can't put St. Louis, you have to put she lived in the suburb. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's not like that here. It's like if you put the zip code, the right zip code, but you still put Cleveland, but maybe, let's say it's Cleveland Heights that a person lives in, you put the right zip code or whatever, suburb, but you still put the right zip code, but just put Cleveland, they'll get the, they'll get it. And I did ask about that just to be sure, and I was told, but yeah, that is true of this city. I don't know why, it's different, but it is. It's a different kind of a place to me. It's like I've lived other places, I could spot a Clevelander a mile away. I've lived other places and I've seen people from Cleveland, ain't you? And they be like, how you know? It's like, Clevelanders are different. To me, you know what I'm saying? Well, to others, too, I've talked to. Okay, it's not a bad thing. So don't nobody take it like that. I mean, that's actually good. Unique people. But anyway, but I remember people at that meeting were mad, they were angry, they felt like, okay, so my thing is like, okay, if you're doing all this building, but what is the attraction? to the city. Okay, we know what the attraction would be for younger people, maybe, who are in their career. These are the people that keep the city kind of buzzing, graduates, working in that particular career field, young people, whatever. By the time you get my age, people settling down. You know what I'm saying? What's the attraction? Why would they come here over New York? Why would they come here over Chicago if they're going to come to this area? Hell, why would they come here over Houston? Nowadays, what's that place? Atlanta, DC, and all the major cities. Which it ain't a whole lot of them compared to the when you look at the country itself. What is the attraction here? It doesn't appear to be anything. This ain't a Kenyatta Nikki thing. This is people who get out and talk to people and whatever. This is a thing that people are noting. Like, what is the attraction? Why would they come here? Okay, I'm hot. Okay, people, I'm hot. I live way up top of a building. Okay. All right, but anyway, you see me wiping myself. I'm hot. Okay, and then I get to doing this shit and I get hot. Okay, I'm talking. So I'm just curious, like, it still does not have a big city feel. It's like people look at it as a big town. Though it is, or it was, but I still think it is listed as one of the major cities in the United States. I was told that one of the reasons it did not become, like a metropolis, like, a New York or Chicago, these cities like that, is because at the time, because back in the day, this was a city where it was hustling, it was bustling, a lot of celebrities used to come here, it was a big deal, okay? And I don't remember all the politics and all the history, but in other words, that dwindled, it died now, for whatever reason. But I was told that it's like the officials, we'll just say it like that, they did not want that, they didn't want the city to become that. So they wouldn't allow certain, I think, at that time, industry, to come here, which was a shame because we're right on the lake, we're right here on the water, okay, so anyway, but after, I think Chicago's beautiful. Hell, I think New York is beautiful. I mean, a city, inner city is inner city. I haven't been to enough of them, okay, and lived in enough, okay, but it's like, when I saw Chicago's Lakeshore Boulevard versus our Lakeshore Boulevard, my mouth dropped. I was like, what the fuck? Why did they do this to our Lakeshore Boulevard? It's beautiful. People been in Chicago, okay? It's fucking beautiful. And I was like, why didn't they do that to, you can't even in some parts even get to the motherfucking lake. Or close to it, but whatever. I don't know why they built this the way they did, okay? And there are some times I'm like, you can go right to the Western Reserve Historical Society and find out all of this information. A lot of this is, just talking to people, who are familiar, who lived here, who know the history. I asked my dad some things and he explained it to me and whatnot. And other people just, So I'm like, okay. But what makes a city an attraction? What makes it something that younger people who are progressive, industrious, they've got their their higher education degrees, and I'm only saying that to say, meaning they're going in particular career fields, this, that, and other. What makes a city attractive to them, that they want to go there and enjoy that space? I am not saying there's nothing here to do. This is not like in New York. I remember when I lived in New York when I was young, every time I walked out my fucking door, it was something exciting going on. You understand? I used to walk to work, It was just something. It was always something, We just don't have that feel, okay? So I'm like, what are they building for? What's happening? I'm not putting it down. I'm not saying it shouldn't be done. But I'm just curious, I was like, I want to know what the fuck going on. And I've been wanting to know for the longest. Like I said, I went to that city meeting at the House of Blues, and there was just nothing that was said. It was vague. It was, we can't do this and we can't do that. And in other words, we ain't gonna do this and we ain't gonna do that. And I remember some guys there, I was listening to people were just, you know, so disgruntled. And I remember these white guys, it was so funny. They was like, oh, it's just a good old boys network. You know what I'm saying? It's like they want to keep it shut down and closed. Now, I don't know. I'm not in those offices. I'm not in those spaces. But I damn sure want to know. I'm just curious. What is the building for? You're building for a reason. You're building housing for a reason. You're not building housing with the intention that there's just going to be some big buildings there that are fucking empty. And, you know, with those prices. Condos and shit. And again, it's so interesting because you see businesses open, whether they were in the city or in the suburbs. That's what I was getting to earlier when I was talking about the zip code thing. And the motherfuckers don't last. And then you just have empty fucking businesses, buildings just sitting for years. We're not talking about in one area. We're not talking about just in the inner city or the poor area. All over this motherfucker. I see it all over the place. Now, lady raised me and said, well, people buying stuff off the internet. I've been to other cities, and those stores are still thriving. Those businesses are still thriving, open. So, no, that ain't it. So, I was thinking about it the other day, and it can't be hell, do a reading on it and see what you get. Go on YouTube, see what you get. So, let's see. Okay? 49 minutes into it. I'm going to do a three-way split and shuffle, and I'm just going to see what I get. I'm not saying I'm going to be right. I'm not saying I'm going to be wrong, you know. Get me right away. One shuffle. What is happening here? What is the building about? Let me see what I can pick up. If you know, we'll just see. We got the Queen of Cups upright. Knight of Cups upright. The Hierophant in reverse. Knight of Pentacles upright. Eight of Wands in reverse. It's a very, very interesting place. I don't like the winter time here because, not because it's, well, because it's so fucking long, but because it's so gray for a long time. The summer is here. I mean, the spring, summer, fall is beautiful. You know, we got a lot of trees and everything. It's absolutely beautiful, honey. But when it gets to summertime, I mean wintertime, real good. It's like goddamn by January, it's like, you know, some people get, you know, that seasonal affective disorder. You know, they get depressed because we don't get a lot of sun. Okay. But anyway, moving on. Let's see what we get here. All right. I'm feeling like this Queen of Cups is representing the city. Okay. I'm hearing something about holding on, okay, to something, not wanting to let go. But I'm hearing, but it must. Okay. It's going to have to release something, some energy here. Now, the interesting thing is, in talks that I've had with other people, more spiritualists, people like that, I remember one lady telling me that this area, Cleveland, is, you get a lot of talent in this area. A lot of talent. But a lot of times other people, they leave. They have to leave because it's just not like appreciated. Okay, about people here. Sorry, if you're watching, you're from here, don't be mad. These are conversations that I've had. Okay, and you know it's true. I met one guy, I didn't actually meet him, but in one building, it was a school they turned into condos. And I was there, and I met a guy who was telling me about a guy that lived in that building. He is a musician of some sort, very well known musician, okay, at least nationwide. But he lives here, and I was like, well, why does he live here anymore? This is his home, but he's never here. It's like you have to have a need to spread their wings, okay, because it just seems as though, or kind of have some kind of foundation somewhere else, because it feels as though they're not really, the work that they do is not really appreciated. This is the kind of place sometimes, like if you're different, very cliquish here, okay, hence some of the shit that I go through with the motherfuckers that I be cussing out on here, you know, very cliquish if you're different, you know, you ain't part of their clique, they got problems with you. Now, we're not saying that about everybody here. There are a lot of people here with some goddamn common sense, okay, but let's move on. But I was hearing something about wanting to hold on, Okay, not let go, but there is a need here. Okay, I feel like the city here in this spread is represented once again. This Queen of Cups here, represented by the Queen of Cups. Okay, it's almost like I said, I feel like this city, there's a lot of mystery here, a lot of hidden things here, a lot of hidden knowledge. Okay, it's some areas I pass, and I pass by the houses, and I have for years, and I'm looking at them like it's a lot of history there. It's a lot of hidden, secretive things there. I met this lady one time when I was a hypnotherapist. She was a hypnotherapist. I asked, she was very, very successful, and I asked her to be my mentor, and she was. She lived in like this mansion that's on, was that Fair Hill? No, Fairmount. And goddamn, when I went in the house, I'm out hit the goddamn floor. Okay, as beautiful as it was, she took me around the whole house, and then she was moving to another house off Coventry at the top of the hill. For those who are familiar, and I was like, how would you move from this beautiful house there? It was almost like she just needed something to do. She was lonely. Her husband was never there. He was out there making money, whatever. She took me to the house that she was moving in. It was a famous opera singer who used to live in that house. When I went in, I was like, well, it was just awesome. Just driving past, you would never know what was on the inside. It's a lot of that kind of rich history here. Like when I said, when I would pass by a brownstone when I lived in New York, it's just like it does something, just takes my fucking breath away. Okay, that's what some of the infrastructure that I see around here. Some of the houses, like the old houses, just big, beautiful. Okay. All right, and it's taking me to Millionaire's Road, which is on Euclid. Well, it's not, doesn't look like that now. Okay, but anyway, let's get back to this. I feel in some way here, if you can follow with me in terms of a city being the personality, I'll say that, of a place. Soft. This is when I say, okay, soft. So this is a very, very comfortable place. I've met so many people. I was one of people who they left and came back, goddamn, and didn't mean to stay. Just I was going to be here for a year, and I've been here ever since. Came, it was just like they ended up here like 12 years, 15, 20 years. I met one guy. He actually came to visit family, just never left, you know. And I've met a lot of people like that. It's like, is it a trap? It's just like, it just feels very comfortable place. Okay, it's not stressful. But I met some people from smaller towns, just even in Ohio, like, oh, it's so fast here, and I'm like, this is not fast, you know. But for them, it is, you know. But it can be a very comfortable environment. So that's what I'm hearing, like with this Queen of Cups upright, soft, nurturing. Okay, I'm hearing nurtures the flow. Okay, the flow right on the water, just like this Queen of Cups. You see her, where is she at? In my hand, right here on the water. Okay, plenty of times I go to the lake. There's one particular spot I love to go. I haven't been in a while, but it's very soothing for me, and I love it there. Okay, very powerful energy there. Okay. Kind of just sucks you in. Okay, I used to take pictures of it and use it as thumbnails on my old channel. Okay, but anyway, all right. So this is what I see here. Okay, again, some kind of hidden mystery, the building of something, the planting of something. I'm even hearing subplants. Okay, which is, I don't feel like looking at stuff right now, but okay, the planting of something, the building of something great, something kind. I'm even hearing, and very mysterious here about the place. I feel as though something about honor, no honor here, or the honor, okay, was taken away. It was not given its just due. Because there was a time, like when I was growing up, like it definitely in the 80s, we watched shows and they would always be making fun of Cleveland. They always made these jokes about Cleveland. Now sometimes I watch shows with my daughter, like on Netflix and stuff, and they make references to Cleveland a lot, but not like they used to, where it was like the laughing stock of the country. Okay, even for those who are familiar, even like I think it was in the 70s where the lake caught on fire. How does the lake catch on fire? Okay, I mean we had to learn about that in school when I was a kid. Okay, but it did. All right. But anyway, moving on. Okay. Kindness, I'm hearing benevolence once again, caring, nurturing. I keep hearing that word kind. Okay, there was a kindness here, a softness here that was taken away. I don't know. Okay, let's just keep going here. I'm hearing something about a bubble, in a bubble, like it was maybe put in a bubble, maybe protected or protective or something like that. I'm not hearing those words, but that's what I'm thinking, in a bubble. Okay, or like in a bubble where, you know, again, it may not feel as progressive, not as knowledgeable, okay, of things that you may find in some other major cities, or the way people think, okay, that you may find in some other major cities. A lot of people call it a big town, okay? It's almost kind of like in some way, shape, or form, everybody knows everybody, okay? That I do not like, okay? But you can almost damn near find that anywhere, okay? But the shit is small here, okay? I am here to give us free. Like it was the movie Amistad. Okay, give me free, goddamn. Give us free. Okay, but there was no freedom, I'm hearing, to be had. Okay, this city, I'm hearing, was placed in a bubble of sorts once again. Okay, not to be taken lightly or loosely. I'm not sure what that means. Like, it's whatever the situation is, the mystery even of it's not a joke. And I remember I had heard this story from 3 people, separate people, different people who did not know one another, as far as I knew. These were separate occasions, who said that this city, there was seeming as though they had heard that the story was it was a cursed place over the area because of some especially heinous acts that were done to the native population in this area. Okay, and that they placed a curse over the city. Is it true? I don't know. Or over the area, I'll say that. But I do know where I live. Okay, the area I was telling you about where I lived, it was called Glenville. I was, the people come through, and, okay, to those areas will buy your house. So there, I had the 2 men over, they wanted to buy it. They were telling me some of the history of the area, and they said they won't tell people this, and a lot of people don't know this, but that those houses were not far from the lake. So those houses were not built for like long-term living. Those houses were built for people who worked on, on the lake and in that area, to be there for short periods of time. But of course, over time, that's not what it became. Okay, people live there for long periods of time. Okay, so you would find very old houses, like the house that I lived in. I think when I left, it was about to be 100 years old. Okay, you couldn't get a queen size bed frame up the steps around the corner. It was not bathed. That I had to get 2 twin sizes to go up the steps. Okay, because I had a queen size bed at the time. But they were telling me that some of those houses had been used for like almost like holding prison type situations for some of the indigenous people that were still in the area. A lot of hidden mystery. I met a young woman who had lived in one of the houses down the street. The house that she lived in, she had married into the family. And every year when I was growing up, I knew around springtime because the father of the house, he would go hunting, and he would get a deer, and he would hang it from the roof, because it went this way, and so he would hang it so the blood would drip, okay, from the deer. I used to love to see that because I knew what time of the year it was when that happened, that summer was coming. But she lived there, and she was just saying, she said, I didn't know where she was talking about at first. She was saying just something about the area. She said, I don't know what it is. She said, it's not, no matter what I did around there. She said, it was just a heaviness there. And the more we got to talking, and she told me, I said, wait a minute. I said, that's where I live. My grandparents left me and my sibling in the house. And she told me the house. I said, girl, I live right down the street, right across the street. I said, I know that house. I know that, I remember that family or whatever. And I said, yes, it is like a heaviness there. So I would have a lot of spiritual experiences in that house. And I remember when I first moved in there, like I'd be downstairs 11 o'clock at night watching TV, and hell, the freaks came out at motherfucking night. It was all kind of activity going on in that house around me. Nothing bothered me or anything like that. But there would be a lot of people that come to that house, okay, that were quote unquote friends and family, though I know that now that they were not, but they feared the house. That I lived in, you know what I'm saying? Because they would see all of this shit. It scared the shit out of them. It doesn't bother me. You know what I'm saying? I would just sometimes, if I saw something, because I'm just, just either get out or just don't bother me. You know what I mean? That's how I see things. Hell, what am I going to do? Carry a bundle of sage all outside? But that's how I look at things. I'm not telling you how to look at anything. But anyway, so I was talking to my neighbor, her fiance, okay, and when I was moving, and he was telling me, he said, "You're not the only one, who experienced a lot of shit." I said, "Really?" He said, "Oh, it's a lot of shit that would go on over in this house." I said, "Really?" It almost would feel like sometimes going down there like you were going in some kind of tunnel, like of darkness. You understand what I'm saying? Very heavy, very impressive, but I'm thinking, well, it's the inner city, you know how that goes, okay? But that's not, all inner cities are not like that, or whatever. But then the girl I met who had lived up the street, they had moved, still in the inner city, in not far, same area, but the Glenville area, but not there. And she said it's very different feeling. Now she had her theory as to why it was like that there. Not, she possibly could have been right, I don't know. But I remember what those men told me, and I said, for us, they're like, it's a lot of history here in the city that people don't know about. And I said, well, that kind of goes to over the years when I had heard that story about the Native people cursing the area because of the especially heinous things that were done to them in the area, and I don't know what they are, okay? I don't even know if that's true or if it's just like a legend type of situation or, tale or whatever, but we will continue on. Now this picture right here, it reminds me of, for those people who know, when you're going from the east side to the west side, there's a bridge and there's some men holding the sculpture in the bridge, in the stone, men holding cars or whatever, and they have a sign now or a picture of one, and it says you're always protected. So I do feel like cities, I did read this somewhere, it's kind of in one of my book that I used to teach out of. It wasn't talking about cities, but it was talking about regions and areas, and how during the time of the indigenous religions, before religions were really formed, okay, in the way that they are now, that it was believed, okay, when we studied Judaism, it's in that section, it was believed that there were various deities or various gods that were assigned to various areas. And I said, well, that makes sense. I could see that about cities as well, sharing that conversation with someone, and they were like, very much so. And that's what those energies on those men on those on that bridge, that's what they look like they're some kind of deities or gods. Somebody did tell me what their names were, what kind of gods they were. I don't remember though. Okay, I talked to a lot of people, okay, and have really in-depth conversations, okay. But it says that you're protected. Okay, that's what the sign says now that you will find on the billboard. But anyway, so that is the energy that I'm seeing here. A sign of, it's almost, I'm hearing a willingness to define, I'm hearing, but more so a willingness to protect. Like, it may seem, from what I'm seeing here thus far, it may seem like it's a traditional place, but there's something here that is very non-traditional about this environment. Okay, like I said, a lot of hidden things, a lot of mysterious things, a lot of, occultic things. I met a guy one time who, they came to my house, not this house, it was another house, not my grandparents' house, to work on my internet, and it was like 4 guys came on, what the hell are 4 men doing here? I don't need that, but they were in training, so we got talking. 3 of the guys that were not from here, and the one guy said to me, we were just talking about the area, and then he said, it feels strange here. I think he was from Texas, I can't remember. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, as soon as I got off the plane, I could feel it. I said, well, what do you feel? He said, it just feels dark. It feels dark. It feels like a lot of, okay, like he didn't say that, but in other words, like a lot of dark magic. He said, I can feel it. He said, I felt it as soon as I got off the plane. I said, that's interesting. Okay. So some of these houses that I tell you that I've passed by and that I've looked at for years, and I'm like, there's a lot of hidden things in this area or a particular area, and I don't necessarily mean things of a positive nature. Okay, so I do feel that in a sense there's a lot of, okay, don't nobody bother me, this is just a reading. There may be a lot of what may seem as though traditional. That's one thing the lady who raised me, she said this is a very traditional place, okay, but from what I'm seeing here, there may be an appearance of that is traditional, but I'm hearing it no longer is or it's not. Okay, a working city, okay, where a lot of people just just a working place, you know what I'm saying, blue collar type of a see, okay, which is what it was, okay. I can't say now, but definitely, got a lot of that factories and that type of thing, working place where you come here, make a decent living, okay, be comfortable, clean for the most part, still trees, nature still intact, okay, and a fairly, well, the world is so changing now in so many ways, but a fairly decent area for your children, to grow up. Okay, I'm here. It's what it was. It was inviting, okay, to many at a period of time. I'm here. It no longer is. Okay, but let's continue on and see what we get here. We have the Fool card upright. Okay, the Magician here in reverse. Four of Swords in reverse. Okay, and I got the fan right here. Eight of Swords upright. I just can't get the motherfucker right on my face. I keep playing with it. But anyway, let's continue on here. So get the hot and get to sweating. Especially this shit. Okay. I feel like I'm on point here. Okay. I'm hearing you're saying a lot of things uncovered. Okay, now I don't want no problems and no issues. Alright. No more than I already fucking have with motherfucker. But anyway, let's continue on here, all right? Let's see. Slow moving. Like I said, a working place where you can come here, have or people that are from here or whatever. Of course, this was one of the places during the migration for many of the blacks from down south. This was one of the cities that many migrated to. I think they said many from Mississippi came here. Mississippi, Georgia, I believe, migrated to this area. Okay, I saw a map of it one time, the various northern states that they migrated to. Also, a place kind of slow. Like I said, a big town, slow, not a super fast, progressive type of environment, which is okay. Okay, this is not a judgment, and one is better than the other. Okay. Anyway, moving on. All right. I do feel as though there was something changed. Okay. They wanted change, the appearance of change I am hearing. Okay, that may be what I'm asking about now. Okay. Growth, I'm hearing. Development. We're growing, we're developing, we're changing is what I'm hearing. Okay. I feel like this is the message that is being sent, because I'm like, well, what's all the building about? Okay, what is the attraction? Who do they want to come here? Who are they trying to, make this place enticing to come? Okay, are these shits, this is the type of shit that be playing years, generations out. Okay, that's how that works. But again, I'm hearing something about change of plans. We will no longer be, oh Lord Jesus, okay. I don't want to say it, but it's derogatory, okay? Or we'll no longer be, in other words, how people have looked at it, the making fun of, like I said, you would hear on a lot of shows and whatnot, like in the 80s, okay? They used to dog it out, dog the city out. Always talked about it, always made fun of it on TV. I don't really see that anymore. Again, when I hear the name Cleveland mentioned, the city Cleveland mentioned in some of these shows, like streaming apps that I watch with my daughter, it's not said, nothing he said derogatory. Like they've even been doing filming here, like we love those Marvel movies. Which one was that? They're in front of the Justice Center, Winter Soldier. Okay, I knew that highway. I was like, I know that. And then I saw them in front of the, but other, they've done more filming here. Okay, so a place I'm hearing with open arms. Okay, so in other words, come. You're invited to come. You're invited to stay. You're invited to live. This is what I feel has to do with what I'm asking about. What is the building about? Okay, environment. I'm hearing environmental change. We need an environmental change because it's like I said, the population has decreased. Extensively. Okay, from earlier years, and like I said, I heard someone saying that it's continuing to decrease, that people are still leaving. Okay, but I'm hearing come back, like they want the people to come back. They want the people to come back here to settle here and to live. It's like it lost here with the Magician in reverse. Okay, lost some of its I'm hearing like savor, okay, or what made it what it was at a one time. Like I said, you can find it. I've seen documentaries about it, okay, on YouTube, where at one time, you know, a long time, long before my time, okay, where it was a thriving place where, again, you know, you had your celebrities and whatnot that they would come here. Even Mark Twain commented that Cleveland was the most beautiful city he had ever seen. Okay, it's a beautiful place. Okay, it's still a beautiful place. It's beautiful. I mean, inner city is an inner city, but I was dating this guy one time when I was in seminary. He was from New York, and I damn sure lived in the inner city. So he came to visit, and he said, "This is y'all's hood." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Nikki, this look like our suburbs." And I was like, "Really?" You know what I'm saying? He was from, I believe, Queens, New York. Okay, so it's a very beautiful place in many places. Again, the inner city is inner city, but we're talking about just in general, the surrounding suburbs, so on and so forth. Okay. But again, it's something here that has been lost that I'm hearing needs to be recovered, okay? And they're going to try to recover it, okay? They're trying to bring others, okay, back, or like, even if it's not people that I'm hearing come back, so maybe people that have left, okay, or younger people maybe that have left, or they leave and they're like, I'm not coming back. They go to college or whatever, get their degrees, do the great work, and I'm not coming back there, okay? I'm hearing we have a lot of that here, okay, and time out, because those are the people that keep this, you know, they keep it thriving. Older people are at rest, okay. I'm hearing, so we need to pursue that, okay, and get out of thinking that everything is okay as it is, okay. I'm hearing because it no longer is. Okay, and not taking the time to look around and contemplate and see, okay, as we're moving into a different time period, what can we do here to make this city great, okay, or great again, okay, as it once was. I'm hearing, so they're building, okay, trying to figure out a way to invite and entice others to come here, okay, rest, okay, and live. I still feel like it's still, they still want to keep an environment of, like, because like when I was in New York, it's just constant, boom, 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 all fucking day. Just even if you're at rest, just the energy is high. Like I was telling you, if you saw it when I was leaving the city, as I was driving out of the city, maybe 45 minutes out, it was like I heard like whoosh, something like in my ear, whoosh, and it was like the energy just stopped, you know, and then it was peaceful, you know. It was just, that's how high the energy is in that city, okay? Not so here. Matter of fact, when I was younger and I lived in New York and I came back on the Greyhound, and I was younger. I didn't really know how to define exactly what it was I was feeling, and I just remember coming into the atmosphere of Cleveland, and it just felt so big. And I just, it's like my whole, everything just was like just the spirit of depression. You're on the bus coming in. But then I realized we were going from a very high energy place, even if you didn't feel like you were, but I did, even when I was younger. Even days when I had off to work, I'd be like, okay, I'm just gonna chill. But it was just like this constant high energy all the time. Not so here. So I feel like they still, like I said, very comfortable here. You don't feel like you're in some kind of fucking rat race, and that it's constant and stressful, and that there's no, like you're just crowded out. You don't feel that. You understand? So I feel like there is a sense of wanting to still keep that. I'm hearing the word renewal, but I feel like there's a sense of still wanting to keep that kind of peaceful, slow, it's slow yet progressive environment. I'm hearing details. I'm hearing we have to work out the details of that. This is what we want to bring. I am hearing a fire. I'm also hearing ice, fire and ice, but a fire back to the region, okay, to the environment, okay, so that others, okay, not to can find peace here. So like it's beautiful with the arts and district and all of that kind of stuff. You know, the museums and the orchestra and the ballet and blah 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 blah. Playhouse Square, Second Broadway, blah blah. That's here, blah blah blah. It's just, it's beautiful. Okay, but there's not, I'm hearing like a working environment that would entail, this is what I'm hearing, okay, many to be enticed to want to move here and live here, okay, I'm here today dying, okay, I'm here, but that we're working on that. That is a work in progress, and it's going to take some time, okay, so instead of, you know, ignoring the fact that, again, what made the city what it is, a magical place. You understand what I'm saying? Whatever the magic was for the city, whatever it was, every place has its own shit. Okay, its own personality, so on and so forth. Okay, and I'm here, and we have ours. Okay, and it's time to filter that back in. We need that again. It might be for financial purposes, whatever. I don't know at this time. Okay, and instead of just laying back, resting like everything all right, when clearly it is not. Okay, time to come up out of the prison cell, thinking everything all right, just as it is. Just like those young men when I was at that city meeting at Thousand Blues, are like, all those people were disgruntled because it's like you're not doing anything to make any changes here. Okay, let's continue on. Here we have the devil upright. The devil. Okay, Knight of Wands here in reverse. The Emperor, wow, upright. I feel like with this Fool card, here it is like, okay, we gotta take a risk, okay, and make the move. Like, I don't understand. This has been something that has been in question ever since I can remember. How do we have a train system that does not go throughout the whole city? It's just not logical. It doesn't make any sense. It needs, but that has been something that's been talked about. I'm 53 ever since I can remember. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, there are things that need to be done here is what I'm hearing. You want to bring people here. Nobody wants a train system that only goes to certain parts of the city, or a public transportation system that's like hardly works. I talked about before my video how I would ride the bus when I would come home from school in winter, and I swear I stood out there for over an hour, thought my toes was frozen blocks about to fall off my fucking feet. Okay. It doesn't make any sense. There needs to be active, I'm hearing, public transportation. Okay. That is going to make sense for people to even want to thrive here. I go to New York, I do not like the subway at all. Okay, that motherfucker runs well, it breaks down and shit, but it runs around that whole entire shit. Okay. And the buses were boom, boom, boom. Everybody, when I was in the train system everywhere, all into Virginia, all into Maryland, the buses boom, 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 People don't want to constantly drive their cars into the city when they have to work. They need that kind of system, okay? And people are going back into offices, into work, as opposed to just, a lot of them. Still a lot of remote stuff, but people are now, they're opening doors back, time to come back to work. Okay, let's see what we have here, okay? I do feel like I'm hearing devilment. Devilment, okay? Been a lot of devilment, okay, going on, I am hearing in the city as well. That has caused, I'm hearing problems, but I'm hearing cause defund, cause things to kind of like fall apart, okay? All right, I don't need to know the specifics of what they are. I don't want to. I mean, my curiosity, hell, I want to know, but goddamn, I don't want to talk about it on here, okay? Because then it's getting into other things that I'm not trying to get into, okay? And I don't want nobody about reading on YouTube, okay? But anyway, all right. But there has been some kind of, hold on. Not so much a code. Oh my Lord. This could even speak to, if that is true, the whole curse thing over the area. Okay, that could speak to that, but it's like, because you see these people changing. Okay, we're talking about the indigenous people of the area, the native people of the area at that whatever time period that was, of course, probably before the building of the city. We're talking about just the area. Okay, but with the chains on their necks here, bound here. Okay, there might be some kind of binding that was done. Again, that could speak to that. A particular curse, binding that was done over the area to keep people from being successful or growing, or not people specifically, but the area, because you have some money here in the city, the old fucking money, it's old shit, okay, or it could be just speaking to if there was that kind of thing done in the area, for it to not progress. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, a failed, I'm hearing, like a failed venture from what it once was, okay, to what it has become, okay, but I'm hearing no longer, okay, because these things have to be addressed, and they are being addressed. Oh man, back doors, back offices, okay, shit you don't know about, okay, and you're not gonna be told about, okay, just sprung on you like a big surprise. Here it goes, here it is, boom shot. This is what we have done, okay. I feel as though there is, okay, I remember when I did work at Cleveland Clinic, okay, when I did the residency, and they were building some of the infrastructure that you find there now at Cleveland Clinic. They were doing that when I was a resident there. My supervisor was not from Cleveland. He was from Detroit. That's where he was born and raised, but he was coming here from San Diego. Okay, and he was such an interesting guy. He used to just be like, I don't get this city. I don't get it here. You know what I'm saying? Because like they had all of, back then they had, they're probably still there, all the pictures of the, the pictures of all the people that sat on the board, you know, of the hospital, and there was like one female and one black person who was male, and he was like, that ought not be during this time. He was white himself, you know. He was like, that shouldn't be. What is up with the city? He said this one time. He said, I don't understand. He said, people here think $30,000 a year is a lot of money. You know, to live on a salary of $30,000 a year. But again, he's coming from San Diego, not San Diego, San Francisco. I mean, okay, it's very, very open environment. Okay, you know, not at all like here. That appears to be traditional again. Okay, but there are some I'm hearing traditional values that are not here, though it may appear to be that way. I feel like that's part of that, the hidden things, maybe a lot of occultic type things. You understand what I'm saying? Because it does give off that vibe in certain areas. Okay, all right, let's continue on here. But he used to. That's what he said. We used to have our morning meetings, and he would just be telling us, okay, confirmation about something. Let me see. He used to tell us things that he probably shouldn't have told us. Okay, as chaplain residents, you know, and I think only 2 of us were from here in that program. Okay. One girl was from Detroit, one guy was from Maine. I can't remember where. Steve was from Chicago. Girl from South Korea. Eugene, his name was Alshin, but he told us to call him Eugene. He was from, I can't remember, somewhere in Europe. I can't remember which country he was from. But anyway, so he did, you know, he told us about the deal and all the shit that was going on, you know. And often, I can't tell you how many times the president had come to this city and it was not even announced on the news or anything. How did I know? Because, you know, he knew. He said he was the director of, well, it was called pastoral care. He had it changed to spiritual care, which made more sense. He was privy to this information, okay? And I swear in that year, it probably was at least 5 times that the President of the United States was here in the city. But it was not something that was announced on the news and all of this kind of stuff, okay? So I feel, I'm wondering if this Emperor card here that I'm looking at, it represents that. I am not saying any particular president or anything like that, okay? Let me see. I feel as though this thing with this Devil card and this Knight of Wands together, whatever this is about, again, it was to render the environment, okay, maybe the people of the environment or just the area itself powerless, okay, or with little power. But I'm not quite sure that that's the case, okay, that that's the truth here. All right, with the money that's here, not only Rockefeller, what's his name, a few other very well-known names lived here, very, very wealthy people, okay, on that level, okay, lived in this city, okay, grew this city, groomed this city, okay. I can't remember their names. I was just having this conversation the other day with someone, okay. So I I'm feeling as though it was maybe to make maybe the small man, or I don't know. Okay, there was some kind of dark, something dark. Okay, and I mean on the evil side. Okay, or negative side. Okay, that I'm hearing that assisted in making this environment, like, I mean, poor. Again, at one point they called it the poorest city in the country. Okay, that assisted in doing that, that set it out to do that. Okay, so that I'm hearing they, it's not about individual people. I'm talking about an area. Okay, and it may not have had anything to do with the residents of the area, but maybe officials or something like that. I'm not sure. Okay, could be rendered, I'm hearing, powerless in the balance. Okay, I mean, but this did not happen, I feel like, maybe in the way that it was meant to happen. Okay, but some things did occur. Okay, that caused a loss here, is what I'm hearing. All right, but let's continue on here. We have the Queen of Wands in reverse. Okay, Five of Cups upright. Okay, and here we have Queen of Pentacles in reverse. And here I'm even looking at this. Okay, on the bottom of the deck, Nine of Pentacles in reverse. But let's see what we get here. I'm hearing it's not the president. Okay, the Emperor here, that's not who that is. There is a powerful figure here, though. Okay, represented in this spread here. Okay, I'm asking who I'm here to name. I mean, that's all you need to know. That's what I just heard. Okay, let me see something real quick. I looked this up before. Of course, it was found in 1796. The results of a Connecticut land company okay, it was originally called the Western Reserve. So I talked about the Western Reserve Historical Society, which is way over where the museums are. Okay, there you can find all kinds of history. My great-grandfather, I talked about this, was one of the founding fathers of the Church of God in Christ. He started the very first Kojic church in the state of Ohio. Years ago, I was told that whoever was running the Western Reserve Historical Society at the time wanted his information, his history, to put it there because of the history he founded the very first. And the Church of God in Christ was a very well-known denomination. Okay, it used to be years ago. I don't know about now, but like when I was in my early 20s, because I did the research and the study on it, it was the second largest denomination, period, worldwide. I don't know about now. Okay, that was then. Okay, it was established as a city, founded in 1796, but established the Western Reserve again. It was named after General Moses Cleveland. The city of Cleveland was incorporated in 1836. I was looking for. It used to be called the Mistake on the Lake. Okay, that was a nickname because the Cuyahoga River, I said the lake, I was wrong, I meant the river. The Cuyahoga River caught on fire in 1969. Okay? And here, it became a regular nickname for Cleveland throughout the 70s and the 80s. So it was getting a bad rap for quite a while. Okay? Now, I'm trying to see the specific date, not just the year. Let me see if I can find it. July 22nd, 1796. It was founded July 22nd. That is wouldn't that be that Leo energy, right? July 22nd. I was just looking at this Emperor card. Okay, fire. Interesting, right? Fire. Yet still July 22nd, Leo. That's still fire. In the Cuyahoga River. Cuyahoga is the county that Queen Museum caught on fire. What was it? 1969. Okay. Let me look up one more thing. June 22nd. That's wait a minute. Yeah, I'm right with that. July, August. Would that be a Cancer? Yes, Cancer. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Let me just show you a picture real quick. See? I don't know if you can really see it, but that's the river on fire. So that's interesting. Okay. Pollution, obviously. Okay. People generally agree about what occurred on and immediately after June 22nd, 1969. Myth enters the stories when people describe the fire as a primary cause of major milestones in the environmental movement. Regardless, the Cuyahoga River fire has become a symbol of water pollution and the environmental movement. All right. Anyway, okay, so I'm just trying to understand this Emperor energy here. Okay. Fatherly, right? Let me see. I want to see what else I can pick up. Hold on. Just a second. I'll do it this way. I don't know where I put my book. I done made some changes around here. Okay, I don't know where I put it. So let me see what else I can possibly pick up from this, because I'm curious. I don't want to just overlook it. Leadership, authority, structure, responsibility. Strategic action. Okay, isn't that what we're talking about here? Did we hear that? It can represent a time of strategic action, discipline, and a need for stability and protection. In the context of relationships, it may suggest a partner, of course, relationship, the city with its residents, so on and so forth. In the context of even the area itself, okay, is a life in and of itself, okay? In the context of relationships, it may suggest a partner who brings security or a need for more mature, stable connection, okay? We were saying that's what was coming out here, taking a risk, wanting to expand, okay? Wanting to, again, come back or come here, okay? Find rest here. And that was what was said earlier. Find rest, but at the same time, still wanting to keep it, mellow, a more mellow environment, okay, which it is. Okay, so that goes to that, a need for a more mature, so having a mature, stabilized, which this place, that's what the city was, a stable place. Okay. You can find good work here, buy you a nice house, having some cars and whatnot, and have a nice, decent environment, for your children, your home, which at one time, this is what people were looking for, okay? Stable connection, okay, the area, the city, the officials, so on with the residents, okay, but wanting more, trying to find a way to attract more people to, but I keep hearing come back. I'm not hearing come, but come back. So it's something about those that were already here, okay? Wanting them to return again is what I'm hearing, okay? It's like this card, like I said, I felt like this was representing the city here, her, the Queen of Cups here on the city, kind, nurturing, so on and so forth, is what the environment was meant to provide, okay, to the residents here, okay. But yet and still, it's like I look at that, it's almost the way she's looking at it as something she built, okay, and realizing that she has to let it go. That's the way I see this card. So that's what I'm hearing about, it's like what the city built, what it produced, and its people, its residents, okay, who have left. Okay, I am even still hearing just now, but we desire your return. Okay. In the professional realm, it indicates potential for success, leadership abilities, and the recognition of one's efforts. Okay. All right. So I'm not sure if the card just represents the leadership again, or if it's being represented as a specific person. I did hear a man, so there might be a man who is spearheading this, possibly the mayor. I don't know. I'm not saying that it is, okay? But I feel like it would be more than just that, okay? I feel like it could be a person with a group of people, okay, desiring here, okay? Again, signifying leadership, authority, structure, okay? Desiring a more structured environment, okay, of what it lost. We can bring it back again. This is what I'm hearing, okay? But there has to be a reason. There has to be something that is attractive to, maybe that's what some of the building is about. Like I said, I'm seeing all these condos and whatnot being built. You don't, if you want them to come back, what are you going to bring them back to? The same thing that they left from? No. You understand? And I feel like I'm here, they know and they recognize and they understand this, okay? Whatever was done, I feel like here this Queen of Wands is representing kind of a stubbornness that those young men, when I went to that city meeting years ago, a stubbornness that they saw in you're not wanting to make any changes. You're wanting, this was a long time ago, but it's been within the last 19 years. My daughter's 19, so I know it was after she was born, okay? You're wanting it to keep it this way. But but these are younger people, but you can't keep it like it is, okay? Because people are leaving, I'm hearing in droves. This is the things that they were expressing, okay? And I feel as though this Queen of Wands in reverse is kind of representing that. The stubbornness of, okay, we hear what you're saying, but we just gonna keep it the same. Okay. And now what do you have here? Okay, regret. Okay, people leaving in droves and with not that many left compared to what it was. The area that I used to live in, at my grandmother's house, my grandparents' house that I lived in, was called Glenville. In that area, the public school, now people do end up sending their children to different schools, the charter schools and all that, but when you have a school go from thousands to 300, that's telling you something, right? Okay. And we're just talking about that particular area. I don't know about any other area. I lived in that area. You understand what I'm saying? The people are leaving the city in droves. I can't remember. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Okay, let me see. Cleveland's population has been declining since the 1950s. This is the time period I was talking about when they were like, it was really thriving, the celebrities would come, blah, blah, blah. It's a big booming city, okay, at that time. Cleveland's population has been declining since the 1950s, with the rate of loss slowing down in recent decades, it says. The city's population was 372,624 in 2020, down 6% from 2010. So it's still decreasing, slowed down, but it's still decreasing. While the rate of population loss has slowed, not has stopped, has slowed, Cleveland is still experiencing a decline in population, with recent estimates showing a further drop in recent years, okay? Historical decline, Cleveland's population peaked in 1950 at 919,808 and has been declining ever since. A long fucking time ago. The city's lost a significant portion of its population due to factors like deindustrialization and suburbanization. Okay, now you talk about the city. Okay, some people, yes, they may have moved to the suburbs, but now we're talking about people not just moving just to the suburbs of the area. Still, leaving fucking all of this shit. You understand what I'm saying? Recent trends. Okay, lost 6%. We already talked about that. Okay, causes of decline, out migration. Out there it is. Leaving is a major factor in Cleveland's population loss as people move to the suburbs in search of housing and other opportunities, okay? But they're also moving to other cities. Cleveland's population in 2020 was blah, 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 we talked about it, making it the 54th largest city in the United States. The city has been experiencing a decline in population, although the rate of loss is slowed down, but it has not stopped. Since the fucking 50s? And it keeps, it's since the 50s? And it's still declining? Yes, you understand what I'm saying? People are leaving. And they're still leaving. Now, I believe when I lived in Glenville, I lived in that area as an adult, when I moved back in that house for 11 years. When I first moved over there, it was still kind of on and popping a little bit. Not quite like when I was younger, but it was still thousands in that school, if I remember correctly. When I was telling me to leave, when I was starting to leave, I'm hearing this, I'm like a population of 300. That's it? These suburban schools I work in, okay, are higher than that. I'm talking about the city, okay? But nevertheless, so I feel like there was some kind of well, I can't look at it. Well, maybe I can. Hold on. I'm feeling like as I read this, whatever, I don't know the reasoning. The Queen of Wands reverse in tarot often indicates a need for self-respect and self-confidence. Hell, after the city be dogged out for motherfucking 2 decades, 70s and 80s and whatnot, and you sitting there watching it and you're from here and it's like, damn. Constantly, national movies and TV shows and everywhere you fucking go, hell yeah, it's going to make you feel a certain way. Even though you can sit up there and say, don't talk about my city, blah, blah, this, that, and other, but still, nobody wants to be represented like that. Or talked about like that. It suggests feeling introverted with low self-esteem and a need to what? Reestablish. This is what I'm reading. Your inner power. This is what is taking place. The reestablishment of the city and its inner power. It also says the reverse card can also point to a feeling of overwhelmed, exhausted, or lacking enthusiasm for your goals. Okay. A reestablishment here of the inner power. That's what I said. That was lost. Here. As well. Along with what was said. It needs to be reestablished here. And I feel as though this is what is being done. A sense of, again, like I said, twofold. A sense of stubbornness that we ain't changing shit, meeting or not. But then realizing maybe we better do something. Lest it fall to nothing. And I don't feel as though the city was built or meant to fall to nothing. I don't. It's just too much here. It may not appear that way, but there is too much. Hell, if somebody told me 5 years ago, hell, even last year I'd be saying this shit about the city, I'd be like, hell no, not me, motherfucker. I hate this motherfucker. But again, okay, you get older. Become, you know, your view of things change. or they grow. I'll put it that way. But also the lack of self-esteem, the self-confidence, so on and so forth that I just read. The need to reestablish here, taking the risk. We've got to do something here, okay? To reestablish inner power that was once had, okay, because of this low self-esteem here and this sense of shame that ought not be. You know how people, and I'm not saying that people can necessarily feel that way, but in general, but there can be, you know, I'm talking about back then, when I'm a kid and I'm watching this shit, it's like, they always dogs in Cleveland now. It's not that bad here, is it? Okay. These are things from higher places and realms and secret chambers that are thrown on us, and we may not necessarily know why. Yeah, the river caught on fire. That's some crazy shit. But you ain't gonna tell me you're gonna sit there and dog out a whole motherfucking city over that one incident when you can look at these other cities and all the kind of crazy shit they got going on and everybody dogging them cities out like that. Okay, you may hear some shit like, you know, Chi-Town is crazy there, the crime is great as high, but see, people still want to go. But it's beautiful. I don't know if you kind of follow what I'm saying. I'm not talking about you and your individual thought, because I can hear it. You hear it, leading to here. You lose money, you lose what? You lose revenue. I'm sorry, you lose people. You lose what? You lose money, you lose revenue. That keeps the city going and thriving, populating. And I'm hearing this is what needs to be rehashed. And I'm feeling like that's what the growth about. I'm hearing some, not all. There are other factors here. Okay, again, here we have this. And then the loss of independence. Okay, and you become like the whole country, in debt to everybody and everything, okay, and not being taken seriously here, okay. But I'm hearing that there are other factors, okay, as to the growing mechanisms I'm hearing taking place, okay. I'm hearing the words in charge. Well, let me see, is there anything else I should pull here? I'm hearing that's it. Leave it alone, let it rest. You said enough is what I'm hearing, okay? For the time being, there may be more, okay? More or less. I mean, there may be more or less I'm hearing, okay? But for the time being, I'm hearing you said enough, okay? I'm hearing it has grown, okay, in many areas. I mean, you should have seen, like, when I was a kid, what was it, the skylines. It's terrible. Still ain't all that compared to some of your other bigger cities, so, but it's nice. It's nice, okay? Before, like, it wasn't hardly nothing there, but gray sky, okay, and snow, okay, but anyway, but I am hearing it's coming, okay, or it's coming together, it's pulling together, but it's going to take some time, okay? Depth, I'm hearing, okay? Work, okay? People who actually give a damn, I'm hearing. People who want to see the city thrive and grow. I'm hearing grow beyond its years, okay? Grow to something. I'm hearing the word professional. I don't know what that means, why that's being said. Grow to something professional of what it used to be, how it used to be, okay? Not like, I feel like that's more so the energy of what it was, okay? I'm hearing that it no longer is, okay? Revived, but it can be revived. I'm hearing revitalization, and this is what they are working on right now, okay? I was just curious, all right? So that's that for tonight. I did not expect to be on for almost, excuse me, y'all, the brawl. I didn't expect to be on, you know, for this long about this, okay? A very interesting place here, I feel. When you look beyond, you know, the eyes of like a child, like I was a young person, and, you know, I just love that big city, blah, 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 which I did. Okay, I did love that shit, okay? But I live here, and I older, you know, I look around, and I'm like, this is very interesting, very beautiful place. And again, many times I've passed certain areas, like, you know, what's that all about there? You understand? It's some secrets. You know what I'm saying? And I found it so interesting when I was at Cleveland, and you didn't tell me the president here again in this city. But it's not on the news, it's not being talked about, no one knows. Yeah. What is the work that is being done? And I'm not saying, bad, negative, or anything. I'm just saying, it's a very hidden. The place is hidden. It's like the city is hidden. It's not hidden, of course, people know about it, but it's hidden. It's almost like I'm hearing. It's almost like it's a. And some people may say, "Well, what you mean by that?" I'm telling you what I'm hearing. But for this is for people who have ears to hear. A luxury. It's a peace here, a quiet here, but it's a beauty here as well. Okay, that I don't know. I'm here that you would not understand unless you were, I don't know, viable to this place. This is what I'm hearing. Okay, and I want to go into the depth meaning. Okay, unless it meant something to you, or unless you meant something to it. Interesting, right? Okay. All right, that's all I got for tonight. I will get back later on with the zodiac readings. I got to get Virgo on through. Check out my memberships. I put it in the community tab. I'll put the link again. Go ahead and click that video. The link to the video, and there I am explaining the tiers. Okay, for my memberships, come on over, become a member here at LGI. I look forward to it. I look forward to your support. Look forward to, hanging with you, talking with you on those. 2 of them I will be doing lives, okay? And that's, of course, where I have my chat open, okay? And other than that, you all, you can check the description below. I hope to remember to put it here, but check the description below about my readings, okay? And no, I don't have prices there, but if you get in contact with me, I'm going to post another email, okay, for you all eventually. And, hey, you all have favor and have a wonderful night.